Pollution in 2026 is defined as the introduction of harmful substances or products into the environment. Today, this extends beyond visible industrial waste to include pervasive, invisible contaminants. Modern environmental science views these challenges through the lens of the triple planetary crisis. This framework recognizes the inseparable link between climate change, biodiversity loss, and rising global pollution levels. These three crises are inherently interconnected. Each one exacerbates the others, forming a feedback loop that defines our current global challenge. The global economy largely follows a linear model known as take, make, and waste. Raw materials are extracted, turned into products, and eventually discarded as pollution. A primary driver of pollution is the intense pressure for low-cost production. Companies are incentivized to minimize manufacturing expenses, often resulting in emission-heavy processes or illegal dumping to keep prices low. When production costs are prioritized above environmental health, the byproduct is widespread pollution. This model treats the environment as a free sink for industrial waste, ignoring the long-term ecological damage. Pollution carries a staggering human cost. Each year, exposure to fine particulate matter is linked to approximately 8 million premature deaths worldwide. Beyond the personal tragedy, the financial toll is immense. Pollution costs the global economy an estimated $9 trillion every year, accounting for nearly 8% of total global GDP. This combination of human loss and economic burden highlights the urgency of environmental action. Plastic waste does not disappear. Instead, it breaks down into tiny fragments known as microplastics. These particles accumulate in marine environments, entering the food chain and eventually reaching human tables. Research now confirms that microplastics infiltrate human bloodstreams. This shift from waste management to a fundamental health risk demands urgent global attention. Atmospheric pollution is dominated by two primary invisible threats: PM 2.5 and ground-level ozone. PM 2.5 refers to microscopic particles smaller than 2.5 micrometers, so small they remain suspended in the air we breathe. Ground-level ozone is not emitted directly, but forms when pollutants from cars and industry react in the presence of sunlight. Unlike the ozone layer, this gas is a potent respiratory irritant. These pollutants are leading environmental risk factors for non-communicable diseases. They penetrate deep into our lungs and bloodstream, driving cardiovascular issues, chronic respiratory illness, and long-term health decline. As advanced economies adopt stricter environmental standards, they successfully decouple economic growth from pollution. However, industrial operations often migrate to regions with weaker regulatory frameworks. This phenomenon is called the pollution haven effect. Industries relocate to these havens to minimize compliance costs, shifting the environmental burden across borders. While this may clean the air in one country, it creates global inequality in environmental impact. The global challenge remains how to harmonize regulations so that growth doesn't come at the expense of local communities in developing regions. Industrial activities often release untreated wastewater containing heavy metals and chemicals directly into our waterways. Simultaneously, agricultural nitrogen runoff from fertilizers leaches into soil and eventually washes into our water supplies. These pollutants degrade aquatic health, poisoning ecosystems, and threatening human consumption. To address this, we must scale advanced filtration technologies to reclaim water and protect our global ecosystem. To manage the global pollution crisis, we rely on a four-pillar control strategy. These interconnected approaches are designed to mitigate environmental harm effectively. First, technological innovation drives progress through green hydrogen and AI-optimized energy grids. Second, policy and regulation ensures accountability through carbon taxes and binding international treaties. Third, behavioral change encourages a shift toward circular consumption and waste reduction. Finally, nature-based solutions leverage our planet's own filtration systems, like forests and wetlands, to absorb pollution. By integrating these pillars, we can decouple economic growth from environmental degradation. Artificial intelligence has revolutionized how we monitor pollution. By processing real-time satellite imagery and sensor data, AI now provides a constant global eye on environmental health. AI algorithms can instantly flag anomalies, such as illegal dumping or unauthorized waste disposal, by comparing real-time site activity against established patterns. AI also excels at identifying pipeline leaks. By analyzing pressure data and thermal imaging, it detects microleaks that were once impossible to track. This unprecedented transparency makes it increasingly difficult for corporations to conceal emissions, forcing them to adopt more responsible practices in a world that is always watching. Urban centers are turning the tide on air pollution. London and Paris have emerged as success stories by implementing strict policies. By introducing ultra-low emission zones and subsidizing mass transit, these cities reduce nitrogen dioxide levels by over 40% in just a few years. These zones restrict high-polluting vehicles, while massive subsidies for buses and cycling infrastructure make clean travel the most accessible option for residents. Traditional urban planning relies heavily on concrete and asphalt, which trap heat and allow pollutants to wash directly into waterways. Sponge cities integrate nature back into urban spaces. Through green roofs, wetlands, and permeable surfaces, these cities absorb rainfall and filter out pollutants. By acting as a natural sponge, this architectural shift mitigates the urban heat island effect and ensures that stormwater is purified before it returns to the environment. Historically, economies have followed a linear path: extract resources, manufacture products, and discard the waste. This take-make-waste model is increasingly unsustainable. Today, global regulations like carbon border taxes are making waste-heavy manufacturing financially unviable. The cost of environmental impact is now hitting corporate balance sheets. The solution is a circular economy. Here, waste is minimized by design. Products are made to be repaired, reused, or recovered. This system decouples economic growth from resource consumption. By shifting to this model, companies turn potential waste into valuable resources, staying compliant with regulations while building long-term financial resilience. Natural landscapes serve as vital biological filters. Forests and wetlands function as our first line of defense, absorbing carbon and toxins before they reach human settlements. As pollutants travel through these ecosystems, complex biological processes sequester carbon and neutralize toxins. By protecting these natural buffers, we maintain clean air and water, reducing the health risks posed by industrial waste. Consumer culture has long relied on a linear model. We buy a product, use it briefly, and then discard it for something new. This cycle creates massive amounts of unnecessary waste. By shifting to a repair over replace culture, we disrupt this cycle. Repairing items, even small electronics or clothing, significantly extends their functional life. Every repair is a choice to keep resources in use and out of the landfill. Changing these daily habits lowers our individual waste footprint and helps transition to a truly sustainable economy. Animal-based protein production is a major contributor to nitrogen runoff. Crops grown for livestock require heavy nitrogen fertilizer, and manure management releases excess nutrients into our water systems. Per gram of protein, meat production requires significantly more nitrogen-based fertilizer than plant-based sources. Reducing meat consumption drastically lowers the nitrogen footprint of our food system. By adopting diets higher in plant-based proteins, we reduce the demand for intensive industrial farming, effectively curbing nitrogen runoff at its source. In Southeast Asia, river pollution remains a major challenge. Tons of plastic flow downstream toward our oceans daily. The Great Cleanup employs autonomous, solar-powered barges called interceptors. These machines are placed strategically to catch plastic before it reaches the sea. As the plastic reaches the barge, it is diverted and collected. This technology stops thousands of kilograms of waste every single week. Beyond technology, regional cooperation has been key to these successes, aligning local governments to protect shared waterways. By scaling this model, we can transform polluted waterways back into healthy ecosystems. Decoupling is a central goal in modern environmental economics. It refers to the ability of an economy to grow its GDP without a proportional increase in environmental damage. Traditionally, growth was tied to pollution. Today, advanced economies are proving that by shifting to service sectors and cleaner technologies, we can decouple these two trends. However, this success remains uneven. As some regions decouple, industrial pollution often shifts to developing hubs, creating a pollution haven effect. True global sustainability requires making decoupling the standard everywhere. To conclude, controlling global pollution is one of the most pressing challenges of our time. It requires a fundamental shift in how we produce and consume. Success rests on three pillars: global policy that enforces accountability, cutting-edge technology that scales solutions, and individual responsibility to drive demand for sustainability. When these factors work in tandem, we create a path toward decoupling economic growth from environmental degradation. The future of our planet depends on the actions we take today.